Welcome back, my friends, to the D-Rate the Hate podcast. I am Wilk from WilkWorld.com, and this is going to be episode 75 of the podcast. Now, we did not create the hate, but with your help, we can derate the hate. It is all about us as individuals doing whatever we can to better the world one attitude at a time. So, what have you done today to make your life a better life? What have you done today to make the world a better place? Making the world a better place, my friends, starts with you and I as individuals doing whatever we can to make our lives better. The one thing I want to talk about tonight is actually something that happened this past weekend that, reminded me, it reminded me of episode 52. I talked in episode 52 about the reticular activating system and the perpetual victim mentality. And something that happened, I'll get into it in a second, but something that happened this weekend, something that I heard just just absolutely floored me. And it, this is going to be a solo episode. And actually, it's going to probably just be a little bit of a stream of consciousness on my part, some things that are on my mind this week. Because our guest actually, due to some personal circumstances, was not able to make it this week. So just you and I, you the listeners, my friends of the D-Rate the Hate podcast, and me this week talking about a couple things that happened, and I just had to share them with you. So here we go. So this week, I had a function. There was a function for work for my day job that we were attending, and it was a very cool boat ride thing, So we're at this parking area, and my wife and I, we walk up to the machine. It's under this gazebo. Walk up to the machine to pay for parking, and as we're paying for our parking, trying to figure out the machine, trying to figure out what we're doing to pay for the parking, it's a place we've never been before, and as we're paying for our parking, all of a sudden I hear behind me just the rudest, this gal was just, you could just hear the rudeness dripping off of her tongue, and she just says, "Excuse us," and the way she said it just caught me so off guard that I looked around and I'm like, you can't be serious, right? and I turn around and there's actually somebody behind me that I knew. It was actually a guy that works at the same company that I do, but he's looking over my shoulder to see what we're doing on this machine that to be frank, we were trying to figure out as well. So, and it kind of caught him off guard too. And so I look over my shoulder at him. He looks over his shoulder and sees this couple of gals there that were just obviously uber offended. I mean, they're just mad, right? And she just looks at him with this death stare and says, "We're in line here." And I'm like, "All right." And he's "No, I'm just trying to see what I'm gonna have to do here. I'm not trying to cut in line." Well, we're in line, and the line starts behind us, she says. So I was just like, it caught me so off guard because I thought at first that it wasn't really real. I thought at first that he must know them or something, but no, he did not know them, and neither did we, and they were very, very offended. And I started looking around for a sign. I didn't see a sign that says the line starts here. I didn't even see a line. It was just them standing there being mad. And I think he was caught off guard as we were. So so then, he goes and politely gets behind them. Apologized, and, they didn't, acknowledge his apology or anything else. 'Cause like I said, he wasn't trying to cut in line, but it just made me think for a second because, as we finished paying and then they went to the machine and did their thing, and I kind of looked back over my shoulder to see how the situation played out, and sure enough, they go storming off, and the one that voiced her rudeness the way that she did just kind of walks off and looks over her shoulder and does the old hair flip and whatever, and it made me think of somebody who is just blatantly unhappy. I mean, there's just no two ways about it because, I look at a person like that, and I put out a meme a number of months ago, and it got several hundred actually retweets on Twitter, which is odd for me because I'm usually not that popular. But it was something to the effect of no matter how right you think you are, being rude is always the wrong answer. And it was something that I came up with because of a situation I had dealt with at that particular time, and it really made me think of that. It made me think of again episode 52 where I talked about the reticular activating system and the perpetual victim mentality. Because when I think about a person who is that rude, I mean that rude to a stranger, and doesn't even take into account the fact that it could have been a simple mistake. It could have been a what I mean. It simply could have been something as simple on her part as saying, "Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry. The line starts over here. We're waiting in line." But no, it started out full blown. Just I am mad at the world, and you are going to be the subject of my aggression. Just I think about that thing. I think about that. I think about that tweet back then. I think about that episode being that kind of a rude to somebody else when it simply could have been a simple mistake, which this wasn't even a simple mistake. He wasn't trying to get in line. He was simply trying to look over my shoulder to see what this machine was all about and how to do it. Which I think it could have been any of us, anybody that's never been to that particular parking lot, whether it be a parking ramp somewhere or whatever. It could have been anything. But to be just that rude, I mean, you think about that person, you think, how miserable do you have to be? How unhappy do you have to be? How well, do you think that person is the kind of person that's really sitting down each day and thinking, man, I am grateful for all these beautiful things that are around me. In this particular case, it was an absolutely gorgeous day. Going out on the water on these chartered boat cruises and just and even if it had been somebody who made a mistake and to allow them to go in front of him, I mean, it would have been a 2 minute time difference in the grand scheme of your day. But to allow that to be so rude to somebody that you've never met before, and not knowing whether that person was actually, trying to cut in line, or if it was a mistake, or whatever the circumstances, but to simply just, I mean, and then once you found out that the person was just looking over my shoulder to find out what the machine was about, and then the apology, and then to stay mad and just this venomous, I am going to be rude because I am somehow a victim of what you have just done to me. So that's part one. Again, like I said, the meme that I put out a while back, no matter how right you think you are, being rude is always the wrong answer. You don't know what the circumstances are of that person that may have mistakenly stepped in front of you, and to automatically be triggered and uber offended and just dripping with venom and victimhood. Settle down. Things don't have to be that way, and and that kind of leads me into to the second part of this episode. When I saw an article, I don't know if I saw it today or a couple days ago or whatever it was, but anybody who watches the news at all, which I do painstakingly, usually for at least a little bit each day, has probably seen or heard of the story about the missing gal Gabby Petito, or Petito, who was on some cross country trip with her boyfriend or fiance or whatever he was, and then now has unfortunately it's come to light that she was killed in Wyoming, I believe. Young gal, 22 years old, absolute tragedy. The parents of this gal and the friends and the family of this gal and now many thousands of people around the country have become aware of the fact that this young lady was unfortunately killed, and it's a big story, big story. Anyways, I don't know a lot of the details of the story. It's just not something that I have followed closely. But one thing that did catch my eye today, and some of you may know of or have heard of a gal by the name of Joy Reid. I think she's on some channel with a show that I've never watched and certainly never will, because I've read some of the stuff that she said, and she's one of those people who likes to provoke division and hatred, and mostly for anybody who disagrees with her race baiting and whatever. But anyways, the long and the short of it is she has made the comment in recent days that the reason that the Gabby Petito story became as big as it is is the result of what is called missing white woman syndrome. And I just have to ask the question, and Joy Reid's never going to listen to this because she doesn't listen to anybody who doesn't agree with her, but why would you say something like that? It's so demonstrably divisive and racist to say something like that. And I don't think she takes into account the fact that more than half a million people, more than half a million people go missing in the United States every year. And more than half of them are women. And I don't know, and I didn't take the time to look up the numbers on how many are how many are minorities and how many are white women. But the fact of the matter is, the vast majority of them never make national news. Never. No matter what color they are. And this young woman was just recently murdered. For all, I mean, I know the facts of the case aren't out there yet, but there's so few details about this right now, and the fact that she's a young white woman, to me, probably has nothing to do with the fact that she's white. It has more to do with the fact that the media in this country goes for what is going to draw in the most viewers, the most listeners, the most, what's going to get the most attention. So this is a very intriguing case. There's a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of things going on here. But to instantly bring race into something that has nothing to do with race is such the MO of race baiting, divisive, hateful people like Joy Reid. It turns my stomach. It's unneeded. It's uncalled for. It's why? Why do we have to live in a society where people like that do that? Why are we trying to keep people divided and constantly bringing race into things that have nothing to do with race? Why? What is the point? So, Joy Reid, shame on you. You're a disgusting and divisive human being, and it's just not right. I'm sorry that there's people out there that feel it necessary to promote that victimhood all the time, make people feel like they're a victim constantly. It really does nothing to better the world, but it does a lot to make the world a worse and more hateful place. It's not right, and I'm sorry that you have such hatred in your heart and do things like that. Anybody who propagates that kind of hatred and that kind of divisiveness really has no business in the public square. And but you know what? We live in the United States of America, and we still have free speech, and or some of us do. I tend to get things pulled from Facebook and other platforms because some of my ideas don't comport with the mainstream narrative. But then again, that's just me. So, anyways, I I just, like I said, it's going to be a stream of consciousness this episode, and you know what? Don't pay attention to those kind of people that promote hatred, division, and nonsense like missing white woman syndrome, or people that come up behind you in line and throw a "excuse us" when they have no idea what the circumstances of the person that's standing there in front of them. Anyways, I hope somebody got something out of this because I sure had a lot of fun rambling on for the last 15 minutes. So, friends, if you did not get anything else out of this episode, I just want you to remember, no matter how right you think you are, being rude is always the wrong answer. Again, I'm Wilk from WilksWorld.com asking, what have you done today to make your life a better life? What have you done today to make the world a better place? It is up to us as individuals. So get out there, be kind to one another, be grateful for everything that you've got, and remember, it's up to you to make each and every day the day that you want it to be. If you've got some comments, email me, wilk@wilksworld.com. Share us with your friends. We're on almost all audio platforms where you can listen to your podcast, and we would appreciate some feedback and always appreciate you sharing. With that, I am going to back on out of here, and we will catch you next week.